we're ready to get started. We have enough people joining right now. So just as a so everyone is aware, we are recording all of these webinars, and the recordings do get put up on our website for people who can't make the webinar. So just so everyone is aware of that. Jones started the recording already. So welcome to our February monthly webinar. Today we're actually going to be giving you all a preview of an upcoming feature which allows ESS-DIVE users to create collections of data packages. So Hesham has been a software engineer with the ESS-DIVE team for about a year now, and so he will be explaining. He's sort of been building this feature out in partnership with NCs, who have been also building this feature into their Metacat software. So he'll be talking a little bit about what the portals feature will be looking like on ESS-DIVE. And we also want people's feedback on how you all envisioned that this will be used for your project. So without further ado, let me hand it over to Hesham.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Hesham Elbashandy. I'm a computer systems engineer working on ESS-DIVE. And today I'm happy to present to you ESS-DIVE Portals. So as a brief introduction for those of you who are not familiar with our repository features, all data packages, as you can see here, are listed in the order that they are published with. You can sort by title, author name, and identifiers. You can also search and filter for data packages by locations using the map or by the fields on the left panel. As part of ESS-DIVE next release, we're excited to be releasing ESS-DIVE Portals new feature. So what exactly is a portal? A portal is simply a collection of data packages. It gives our users the freedom to collect data packages under one umbrella. It also allows customizations of the theme and structure of the portal to give each portal its own identity. Portals can be used in many different ways. One main use case is as a portal for projects submitting data to ESS-DIVE, where a project could collect a set of data packages under its own page with information about the project itself. This enables the projects to be found in the repository easily in the future, as their project's website can have hard time to be maintained on the long term, and having portals on ESS-DIVE enables them to live on for the future. Portals also provide matrix, which provides useful insights on the data packages collected under the portal. The matrix covers data packages number, sizes, time period of the data, and update frequencies, which all can give very useful insights on how active the project is. So portals have four main components. Let me show you under the hood our demo Sprouse portal. The first component is the landing tab. It is what users initially see when visiting your portal, which is the first thing that gives the portal its own identity and looks. The second component, and the most important one, is the data tab. This is where data packages for the created portal show up. It feels very similar to how you normally see data packages on ESS-DIVE. The third component is the matrix tab for those data packages inside the portal. And the last component is the custom tabs. As you create your first portal, you'll find the need to expand your portal with sections and pages about different aspects of your portal or project to provide information about it. That's when the custom tabs come handy. It allows you to customize your portal to add as much information and sections as you want. In our case here, we added one tab to include information about the Sprouts team. But how are you going to share portals, and how are portals identified? Each portal requires a unique identifier in ESS-DIVE, and that identifier is embedded in the URL used to access the portal site. As you can see here, that's an example of how the CDX portal identifier looks like. So no more complex, non-human identifiers for your portals. So after creating, did someone have a question? Someone said something? Yeah, sorry. So after creating your portal, they start off by being private, just like any private data packages you create on ESS-DIVE. After creation, to start the publishing process, you have to contact our ESS-DIVE support team, and we will help you publishing the portal after reviewing it. So here's how to find portals. You click on your profile on the top right, and then click on My Settings. Then you'll find a new tab that appears that says My Portals, and it's marked Alpha for its Alpha release version. Here, you'll be able to see a listing of all your portals, and you can even start creating new ones. This is how it looks when you initially try to create your portal tab. It's very easy to customize. All you have to do is just like drag and drop some images to put your logo and your cover picture, and you can create your content in Markdown, which makes it very flexible. As a portal creator, you would be able to use the Portals Filters feature to filter out only the data packages you would like to view on your portal. As you can see on the left panel, it has an applied filter that we added to narrow down the portal collection to only include Sprouts data packages. This applied filter was added through the project filter field just below it. So currently, we have released internally an alpha release version to test the feature out. We're planning to release the portal soft release version around late March. And by early May, we will be launching Portals tutorials. So to start creating our first example portal, all we have to do is just like click on the new portal button. It starts off showing you the settings page of your portal where you'll be able to set the basic elements of your portal. So initially, just like enter the portal title. And then you enter the identifier you want to be in the portal URL. If the identifier is available, a label will indicate the availability. So for example, just write example here, and it checks that this unique identifier is available. But if we try like a different identifier that's already taken, it will indicate that that URL is already taken, and that to ensure the uniqueness of the portals. So we're going to go back to our example. All we have to do here is just like enter a brief description on our portal. Then add the partner logos. You can add any partner, for example, DOE, Berkeley Labs, or Oak Ridge. Then through the data tab, we will be able to see data packages we have access to, as you can see here. Now, what we want to do is to narrow down the portal to only include the data packages we want for that specific portal. And that is achieved by adding a filter. So as you can see here, we are adding a filter in the project field to narrow down to only data packages that have this project name into its metadata field. Then, if you'd like to add a new tab, let's say for the About page, you can click on the plus button and then select Freeform, which indicates a new custom tab. We then add the title and subtitle of our new tab. So assuming this is for the About page for the project, and enter a brief subtitle here. And then we can drag and drop any image in here just to add its cover picture, or we can upload it by browsing your computer for a picture. Here we write up our content in Markdown, which adds a lot of flexibility to what we can do with the tabs. It starts off with sample Markdown as an example. So we make our changes in here, and we can click on preview to view our changes. As you can see here, it supports all the Markdown elements, adding images, adding snippets of code, tables, and even emojis. It also divides the page into sections on the left side, according to the headers defined in the Markdown. This enables easier navigation for your users. So if you want to add more than one custom tab, all you have to do is just like click on the plus button again and add another tab. Just like what we did with the About page, adding a title, and if you want to add a subtitle, and also make edits to your Markdown. After that, all we have to do is clicking Save, and now we have a private created portal. As you can see here, this is how the portal landing page that we just created looks like. It has the navigation, as we saw earlier, has the other tab, the custom tab that we created, the data tab that includes only the data packages with the example project name, and finally, the matrix tab, which includes some matrix on the data packages included into that portal. So is there any question? And we would also love to hear feedback from our community. Thank you.
Hesham, this is Charu. Can you maybe explain that a little bit about the filters for creating thematic portals that are beyond just a project collection?
Sure, absolutely. Would you like to go over a live demo for showing this?
Yeah, if you want to do that. Yeah.
Okay. So this is basically our data state server, which is our testing server. So you probably will not be able to find portals on production yet. So basically what we want to do here, if we click on My Settings, then click on My Portals, and click on New Portal, just like example, webinar demo. And now we enter the demo URL. And now in the data, as you can see here, I can see all of the data packages that I have access to. If I want to narrow down my search to any word, for example, like in the title. So let's assume I want to search for Pete examples. So I can only filter down to all of the data packages that has Pete samples in it. I can also search with creator, the publish year, and the years of data coverage, identifier, and location. All of those fields help me to create the portal that I want. And that's what makes portals very flexible and customizable in being a portal for project or anything else. So anyone has any question? All right.
I also just wanted to point out to the folks from Oak Ridge that this is not, we have not created your Spruce portal for you. This was just for a demo. So I think Hesham scraped off some information off your web page, just to clarify that.
Thank you.
Okay. Can you all hear me? This is Terry.
Hi.
Hello.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. So I have a question. The portal is created by one person, so can you have other people have access to it? If for edits or
yeah. So currently for our early soft release in March, it will only include just like one person doing all of the portals work. But in the release after that, in the very near future, we will have the capability for sharing access to other users as well.
And it'll be up for testing in March. That's what you said.
This will be in the release after March. I would expect it could be around May.
In the metrics, it looks like it's mostly just about the number of data sets, but will that page also have metrics on downloads for those data sets within that portal?
So let's go through the matrix that is included.
Chris, did you want to comment on any of that?
Well, I was just going to say that, Hesham, in this current version, a single person can create a portal, and then currently, someone an ESS-DIVE administrator could give access to other people to edit that portal as well. So adding them to a group or the like. But then in the future, you know, as Hesham mentioned in May or so, we'll be rolling out a permissions panel view where you can go into your settings and you can add people or groups directly on, you know, the owner of the portal can do that. So it's a little more convenient.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So as you can see here, this is the matrix for our demo spruce portal. It has like the number of data sets, the size of the content. It also has the frequency of the updates for both the metadata and the data files. It has the file formats that are included inside the data packages of this portal and the time period that the data covers, but it does not include the downloads.
That's a little surprising to me, Hesham. We do have a downloads section in the metrics, and so I'm not sure why it's not showing up here.
I think because this is the staging server and it doesn't have all of the capabilities of production, so it's not moved into that.
Right, right, okay.
Okay.
And Terry, your question was whether or not it would be, you know, just the metrics for this subset, this just for the portal. And yes, it is. All of the metrics are narrowed down to just the data sets that that you've defined in your search.
And if you want to get a sense of what these metrics would generally look like, if you go to the ESS-DIVE portal right now, it's basically the same set of metrics, right, Chris? The same statistics and figures as on the main portal right now.
It is. Maybe, Hesham, you could show that. If you go to data and then summary.
Yeah, sorry, yep. Of course, this is because
go to
of the
production
server.
of that
Yeah,
example.
sure. Oh, yeah.
Can whoever's typing mute your phone?
So
And just to confirm, all of these will be available on each portal page, correct?
Chris, can you confirm that, please?
Oh yeah. So these metrics will be available on each portal page, and then there will also be some new metrics coming in, particularly with regard to the quality assessments of data sets. So the FAIR-based reports. So that's another portion, another aspect of the metrics that will be in there, and then also the downloads over time and the uploads over time, citations over time, and views over time. So just views of the metadata record over time is one that you don't see in here. This is right now just downloads of the actual data packages. So yeah, incrementally we'll be adding in new metrics features.
What are the, I know a lot of people need, for proposals and for quarterly reports, need information about the downloads. Is there any way to pull this information out through like a CSV?
Technically there is. We haven't enabled that through the metrics page, but that's a good point. You know, we could add in, you know, right now the metrics for views and downloads where we have that, we're making that interactive so that you can zone into a particular time period. But it might be nice to add in an export button for the given time period that was selected, you know? So if you needed a quarterly report, you could get those data just by calling the backend programming interface. So yeah, I think that's a good request, actually.
So I just wanted to add some clarity perhaps on the release timeline, since Terry had asked that. So I think, Terry, what we're just planning to release in March is what you just saw on the demo right now, which is just the ability to create a portal for yourself. And so by the PI meeting, what we will have is tutorials to enable a single person to do that, and just have it. And as Chris mentioned, if you email our support list, just like for data packaging, we can give additional people access to that data package. We can enable shared access through the group setting, but that has to be done manually through a support request. And it's not an automated feature. I think NCs, as Chris has mentioned, is working on the sharing thing, and when they come out with their release on the sharing, we will implement it on the ESS-DIVE side. But there's usually about a month at least, maybe a little longer lag on when the feature is released on their side and when it gets implemented on ours. So we do full testing and everything. So the feature that enables you to automatically share the portal with everybody else will be a little longer, but at least you can get started on thinking about your own project and start playing around with this feature. And we can give shared access through the group setting, as I mentioned. And we haven't yet gotten information on what the PI meeting will have, but there'll be a number of us available at the PI meeting. So if we don't end up getting a dedicated tutorial session this year, then we would be happy to work with all of you to show you this feature while we're there at the PI meeting or cyber infrastructure meeting, and help sort of get you guys started on this feature or any other feature that we have available.
Chiru, I just have a question from the point of view of people who are uploading data to the NG archives. What is the expectation in terms of transferring to ESS-DIVE, or whether we can go in and make portals ourselves, or is there a plan for that? Thanks.
Thanks, Kim. I can only speak to NGArctic, and I'm hoping Terry or Les or someone else on the Oak Ridge side can speak about NGArctic's plans. But I think for NGArctic, the plan is, sometime in the spring and summer, we're going to be at least mirroring some of our data onto all the public data onto ESS-DIVE. And then, yes, we can create thematic portals. We can create a project portal or thematic portal. So for instance, if you wanted to do a leaf type portal, you could actually do that, and you could have it private to yourself, or you can publish it. So we do have to sort of, what we would like some community feedback on is for, especially for those thematic portals, what kind of publication process we have, and whether we want some sort of curation so that we don't have too many portals with duplicate themes. I think that's something we'll discuss in a broader venue like the cyber infrastructure meeting. But I see Terry can comment on NGArctic.
I'm sorry, I missed what, I was having trouble trying to get in on the conversation. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay, because I was trying to talk earlier and there was no being talked over, so I don't know what's happening on my end. And so I missed what you were just asking me because I was distracted. Sorry. I heard something about thematic portals.
Kim's question was, what's the plan for the NGs in terms of moving data to ESS-DIVE and the ability to create portals on ESS-DIVE with NG data?
Currently, we're going to move NG data that in this FY that is finalized, public data that is not ongoing, so that we don't have to test the uploading data that has the next year or 2 years worth of data to add to it, to update a data package. So, but we've only tested the API in the sandbox, and we haven't actually started uploading the data yet, because we've had some discussions with the ESS-DIVE team on some questions and issues, but we suspect to start adding more. But I don't know about, all the data is not going to be up there right away. Kim, is that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks, Terry and Charu. I guess we're not there yet in terms of being at the point of creating portals, so it's going to be something to think about a bit further down the line. But I think this looks really great. It's going to be a really nice way of accessing data.
And Kim and anybody else, it would help us to get an idea of the types of portals you guys envision creating, and whether what we have is it's sufficient for the types of things you want to do on ESS-DIVE.
I guess I just whether there's going to be umbrella NG Tropics and NGArctic portals will be something to decide, but I see definitely some good use for this. For example, with our Phenicam datasets, where we're going to have a whole bunch of separate but very strongly related datasets, that would be nice for people to be able to get some information from the portal before they go and download large data sets. So I think this could be really useful for that.
I think one of the things as I'm listening to you guys talk about this is Valerie Hendricks, I'm lead engineer on ESS-DIVE, is that, getting a good, when we do come out with portals, or, you can also go on Sandbox and play around, but if you're going to be uploading data sets that, like you said, are related but maybe separate, that'll really, thinking about the metadata that you add so that you can do those, create those filters will be really good. So it'd be interesting to know that when we bring portals out, and if you want to try on our Sandbox server, just kind of playing around with, well, what could that look like? And if there's anything that you see that's deficient, that would be, we would love to have that feedback. That, anything that might prevent you from doing those things.
Yeah, I see a few other folks, like Kristen or Pamela. Do you guys have any thoughts on how you might use this for your data sets on ESS-DIVE?
This is Terry. A question I was trying to ask when I thought I had the phone unmuted. So just trying to separate here. So this is a portal. So this is sort of the user look into the data. And then there's still going to be project spaces where you go in and manage. So NG would have a space with multiple users to input data through the API and manage information. And then you could have a view into that data with different themes or with just the NG restriction to a portal page. Is that right?
Yeah, that's roughly right, Terry. I think we're trying to figure out what project spaces looks like in the view of this portal, and originally we had thought that these portals would be the project space, but we realized the portals are actually much broader because you could create these thematic collections, which, as Kim just pointed out, is exciting because you could start to synthesize data across projects this way. So we wanted to enable that feature, but the sharing and the sharing and admin privileges that Hesham was describing is actually just the portal itself. It's not sharing of or editing of the data under the portal. And this is complicated because you don't want, if you're just creating a thematic collection of other people's data sets, you don't necessarily need to have edit access to those data sets. So we're still trying to figure out what project spaces should look like, whether we want that integrated with the portal features or whether that should be a separate feature. We would really like feedback on that as you guys are starting to see this feature roll out and hopefully using it. We'd like to get your input on how you would like to see that extended towards the project spaces, because the permissions can be somewhat tricky.
I just wanted to point out that Kristen put in the chat, she's having trouble with her mic, but she said that they could see that this would be useful for them with the Slack SFA, but she didn't have any specific thoughts at the moment.
And Charu, to your point about enabling data sets to be associated with portals and projects, we're rolling out this portal feature first so that you can represent a particular project that's that's within the ESS-DIVE repository. Once we've done that, we're going to be moving over to the metadata editor to be able to, when somebody adds a data set to the repository, a data package, then they can assign that to a particular project or a particular portal. And so we haven't, we're still in the midst of designing that. And I think that's your point, is that we need feedback on that. So I think maybe there's room for a discussion once we have the mock-ups of how you would associate data sets with a project or a portal, and then get feedback on that so it works intuitively.
I just want to clarify that the metadata editor, if it's not clear, is the place where you create your data packages in that form.
Yes, thanks, Val.
Right. So I think, one of the things I would like to get some feedback on is, how people would like to interact with this before the PI meeting. We will be having some tutorials and documentation coming out by at least, the first week of May, so well before the PI meeting. But, is there some interest in having us do either a tutorial or a help desk at the PI meeting for helping you guys get started on this? Because one of the things it would be helpful is to understand your workflows of how you want to manage data and manage your portals.
It looks like it's kind of straightforward. I guess maybe give us a chance to look at it when you push it out, and then we'll see. That's my thought.
I had a quick question about the Markdown portion of it. I'm curious if there are folks that are familiar with creating web pages in the Markdown syntax, or if you're not familiar with it, do you have questions about that? And what can we improve to make that feature of it more usable? Maybe Hesham, you can pull up that view.
So that's not a WYSIWYG, you have to know Markdown. I didn't catch that when I was looking at it.
Right. So we have an editor that's somewhat WYSIWYG, like adding a page title and dropping images and that sort of thing. Those are just form fields. Whereas if you want to put in custom, you might want to put sections about the science that you're doing, or the people that are involved, or the methods that you, or the protocols in your project, or whatever it is that you want to add in. We felt like that the Markdown editor at the bottom of this page was the most flexible way of doing that. But it has a little bit of a technical nature to it, because it's a text-based input. It's very, very powerful, but you do have to become familiar with editing Markdown. And there is a little bit of a help section at the top of the editor there that helps you with the styling. But so it would be good to know if people are not familiar with this at all, or if you have used it.
So just a little background on Markdown in general is that the publishing industry started using it probably about, 15 years ago. And so it is very easy to use. And so I think that it would be interesting to know if you guys find it easy to use as you try this stuff out. So like editors and, print people who were doing print media started using this back then. So it might be if there's, so anyway, I just wanted to know where it came from and why we would put this in here for regular users to use.
Terry, I think if Terry, if you're speaking, I think you're having trouble with your microphone again.
I wasn't intending to speak.
Oh, okay. I saw your phone icon moving.
Well, that's the weird thing. I think I have to have it. I'm called in, but I've got it on the screen, but it won't let me talk on the phone unless I unmute the screen. So I don't know what's happening. That's why I was confused earlier. So you can sort of hear me. So I need to unmute the phone and the screen. All right.
But yeah, in general, if people are having trouble with Markdown, that's something we could also, you know, generally have a webinar on Markdown. I mean, that's something we could, you know, do. It's pretty useful across not just ESS-DIVE, but very broadly for many different things. And Chris, does NCs have some sort of tutorials for using Markdown? Or I'm sure there's tons of resources out there.
Yeah, I think in the trainings that we do, we will, you know, we'll spend some time on it, but then point people to the data carpentry tutorials. GitHub has good tutorials on Markdown. This is the editor that we set up here is basically the same as GitHub itself, where you have an edit side and a preview side. So yeah, we largely rely on outside tutorials.
Hey, Chris, I think it would be good to understand how much control over the look and feel of the portals there is. I don't know if that was clear from the from what we saw, because I'm guessing that there maybe, you know, when people are creating their thematic portals, they might want to change some of the main colors. Is that possible?
Right, yeah, we anticipate that, and in our original mock-ups, in the settings, we have a section for being able to choose your primary color, your secondary color, and an accent color using a little color chooser. With the first, you know, the first release, that feature isn't in there yet, but that's one of the next things we're going to be working on after we finish this permissions panel. And then, you know, part of it is working with the layout of the Markdown editor itself. Right now, the layout is just a single column of text followed by images, followed by text, and, you know, having sections defined by these headers and the like. But we also are looking at being able to choose between, say, a 1 and a 2 column, or potentially even a 3 column layout. So those will be some, you know, some features down the road. But just to get this out and usable, we went with the single column layout first.
That makes sense. I have a question for the community. Are there things, as you know, maybe you don't know this yet because you haven't used it, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Are there things that you can think that if in your mind that if you were going to create a thematic portal or a portal for your project, are there things that besides like changing the thematic colors that you would absolutely need to make it, you know, how, you know, make it acceptable for your project? Chris, Terry, or Charu, Terry had a question about, are we going to mention anything about the ESS Cyber Infrastructure Working Group meeting prior to the PI meeting?
Yeah, so that meeting is set for May 18th. I believe David Moulton is trying to get decided on the final list of people who will be invited. I think this year it's going to be less than the previous years just because of space limitations. It's a different venue. But it will be the day before the PI meeting, May 18th. I'm less involved in the organization this year as I was in the previous years, so that's as much as I know about it. But I think he's hoping to get the invitations out by early next week at the latest, so that people can start making their travel plans. And I think I'm assuming like before that they will cover the cost of the hotel stay for the night before. So that's as much as I know about the cyber infrastructure meeting. But but what we have been told is that we will have some time to talk about ESS-DIVE at that meeting. It will be less, I assume, than previous years, because they have a lot more projects they want to cover that have been funded that's relevant to the group. So we will try, I mean, you know, this portals will be part of our presentation, but we've done a lot in the last 1 year that we've covered. So we will be covering all of that stuff. And so if there's anything specific that you guys want with regards to the portal, once I will announce it through this, you know, usual community list once we've released this feature for people who want to play around and test with it. And then, you know, feel free to set up one-on-one meetings if there's something you want for your project right now. That would be, I guess, the most efficient thing if you want to do it before the PI meeting. And as I said, there'll be several of us available there and we should have enough time to either do one-on-ones or even hopefully a little bit of a tutorial for people who want it. So we only have a few minutes left. I do want to put in a plug for our next meeting. It's going to be in March, and the topic there is model data archiving. So Megan Simmons and Bill Riley have been working on a white paper to think about what ESS-DIVE's model data archiving should look like. And so as part of that, we've held one webinar previously, but we've also done a series of interviews with several of the modelers who are in the community. And we have, and Megan's now actively working on synthesizing all of that information. And hopefully she'll be sending out a white paper draft before the next webinar. The next webinar will be a little longer than our current one. It's going to be 1.5 hours because we anticipate last time we did this, we ran out of time to get enough feedback. But Megan's hoping that she can get a lot of feedback on what she's going to be proposing as sort of the path forward for archiving model data. So, you know, we hope that several of you are able to join. I'm blanking on the exact day right now, but I will send out a reminder in a couple weeks. And all of these webinars are recorded, and the slides are also put up on our website, the ESS-DIVE/webinars page. So you can go back, if for those of you who missed some of this material, you can go back and view the earlier parts of the webinar and also look at our slides. So hopefully that's going to be enough to get you going on the portals. We can take any last minute burning questions, but otherwise we will end. All right, thanks everybody.